Alrighty. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It's Doc here. We've got everything up there. There's the dollar index this morning, or I guess that's yesterday's dollar index at this point. Let's see where dollar index is right now. We'll shift over to the other screen. I don't think I downloaded it into the system. Let's double check. And okay, yeah, dollar index is trying to perk its little head up just a little bit. That's what it looks like to me. And let's go over to the other screen for it. Now, this is our webinar we do every day. And what we have is a spreadsheet here. You see where it says Ducoscopy? Right underneath is a spreadsheet that confirms for the last 45 years. We go and we put every day and who's been in a weekly buy, like corn's in a weekly sell for 10 weeks now. And in this case here, we go over to, where is it at? Let's find it. There's the dollar index right there. It's 4 weeks in a weekly sell, 4 days in a daily sell. And then when you look on the screen, what do you see? You see that it's 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks in a weekly sell. Now it's starting the 5th week in a weekly sell. Same thing on the daily. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 days in a sell. Starting today off a little bit firmer, but at the same time, it's still in a daily sell. And so obviously you can tell when it goes into a daily sell, it has a natural tendency to find a way to go down. When it goes into a weekly buy, like what it did right here, you can see has a tendency to find its way up. Now, nothing goes in a straight line in the markets. The markets like the zigzag because you have buyers and sellers, and you have new buyers, and then you have people who are liquidating. You have all kinds of different forces. Profit taking, something a lot of people I've tried to convince for a long time now. Yo, Robin, tried to convince, hey, you know what? When you're making money in a market, maybe you should take a profit, just some. This idea that let your profits run sounds like a great idea, but not many people have the wherewithal to do that. And in other words, what's a wherewithal? It means that they don't have the guts. They don't have the patience. They don't have the nerve. And sometimes they let it happen in something that's, imagine like an Enron. It's an oil company. It'll always be in business. No, they did criminal things and they went out of business. So what happens is our math spots the good and the bad. 86 out of 100 times, it'll spot the good compared to the bad. Good could be being long. Good could be being short. There's two ways of making money in a market. You buy low, sell high. Everybody has that one down very well. But then there is a second way. That is you sell it short and then you hope to buy it cheaper. So in other words, you're selling something you don't own. And so, that could be good. If you're short and it's going down, yeah, it's a good thing. Unfortunately, people have gotten locked into the idea of buy and hold, and that's fine. We just like to improve it since they've created listed options back in the summer of 75 in the smoking room at the Chicago Board of Trade. We've been a big fan of options, and options allow you to protect. They allow you to insure your assets just like you would insure a car, or you insure a house or an apartment, or you get insurance on your health insurance, or you get life insurance, or you get boat insurance or some other insurance. But most people steer clear of financial insurance. They say, oh, that's too complicated. Oh, okay. So you'd rather just lose your money. Fine. House burns down. You didn't have house insurance and the house burnt down? Oh well. Yeah, it was too complicated. So anyhow, that's what we do. We look at the spreadsheet. We look at see what's going on in the markets. We look at the news through the eyes of our algorithm more than we look at the news through the talking heads on financial channels and newspapers. So there we are right there. That's the dollar index, and it is trying to press down, and it doesn't seem to be changing that rhythm on any particular basis, really. It seems to be steadily trying to, just kind of mope along I mean, it's gotten down into that 102.50 area. Still a little overpriced when I look at the dollar. To me, the dollar is overpriced. You know, if it's above 100, it's overpriced. If it's under 100, it's undervalued. And that's the way I look at it. And so, because you can't really measure it anymore with the way the central banks all pump it up. And, you know, how they support their currencies. We're definitely in an era, quantitative easing era, where the government is out there being the buyer of last resort compared to J.P. Morgan or you know, the specialists at the New York Stock Exchange over the last couple centuries, where individuals propped up markets because they saw it as a bargain. Nowadays, it's the government, the Federal Reserves, the central banks, the finance ministers, you know, the treasuries. They pump up the markets. Politicians, you know, what you're doing is you're giving control to the politicians to run your markets. That's scary, since they seem to be relatively shallow and only interested in governing, I guess you could say, their way. Because they tax us and they drive us crazy, and they try to tell us what we can eat and what we can't eat, and they tell us how to live our lives, and it's very confusing. So it's very easy to go look at the dollar index and say, well, it's 102. Okay, it's overvalued. If it drops down to 98, it's undervalued. Now, that doesn't mean that you can buy it instantly and you're going to go to see it go to 102. Our math will give you the idea when to and when not to. But it's just a way of describing, at least in my mind, if the dollar is overvalued or undervalued. And then you can look at the different currency pairs, say like the euro. Let's take a look at the euro. Oh, I would just want to save this. Let me save this real quick. I want to export it over to the beta and see how that is going. And let's see if it'll save it. All right, there we go. Now let's go take a look at the euro. The euro has been acting very well. We've been in a weekly buy for 5 weeks. You can see that right there. It's been in that mode. 3 days in a buy there. We had 4 days sell there. We had 5 days in a sell there. But we were still in that weekly buy from way back in here. And it just kept on going up. And then they tried to take profits, and they did. They were successful. And then within 1 day, when it came down to the push and the shove, being in a weekly buy, we moved into the daily buy. And again, winner, winner, chicken dinner. You can tell that this bar right here is higher than this bar right there. And that's how we roll around here. So. There is the euro, and how it is, been acting, fairly well. The European Union is the second largest economy in the world. I know that the media wants you to believe that China is the second largest economy in the world. They're more like around the fourth or fifth. It depends on how Japan is doing. But it's really, the European Union is the second largest financial system in the world. And actually, really, the third is the Commonwealth. With England and Canada, South Africa, and Nigeria, the Commonwealth countries. That's the third largest. And then it seems to bounce into the battle between Japan and China being fourth and fifth. FIFO. All right. So let's now take a look at the dollar index on my beta and see how it updated. There it is, right there. And that'll make some sense to you. You see that little push down again. You see a bunch of days it's been playing with that sell area in here. And we've been in that long weekly sell down at the bottom in here. From there, we found it very curious. We kept on seeing these headlines about civil war breaking out in Britain. And it's been going on now for like 3 weeks now, 4 weeks. We keep on seeing these stories about a civil war on immigration breaking out in Britain. And we've been watching the currency, and the currency's been telling us something's wrong. No, that's not it. Right there. There we go. And here's the cable. And remember, traders, you're welcome to ask any question anytime, and we will respond. Now, this has been curious. You know, they seem to have been joined into that. It was outperforming the euro for a long while. Then it went into this topping pattern here and drifted and drifted, and we've been in the sell ever since. Let's grab one of these red lines. There it is. We went into the sell right there, and it has stayed in the sell all the way down. And you can see it on the spreadsheet right there. We'll highlight it like so. And you see it on the spreadsheet there. You know, it's been 5 weeks in a buy. It's definitely playing with and threatening a weekly sell with no problem whatsoever. Right. Oh, I hit the wrong button. Let's go back again. There we go. And so it's been playing with the weekly sell now for the last day. It was very close last week, and then last moment they lifted it up, which was curious. That's a little long-term money. But now that long-term money seems to be surrendering to the pressure. And the daily keeps on trying to tell us no. And then when we slide over to the Euro GBP pairs trade, you can see that a massive spike that started up. Matter of fact, I think it was Thursday. We used it as a headline, or Friday. The Euro GBP going into weekly buy, or flirting with weekly buy, or something of that nature. And sure enough, it did. It closed in the weekly buy, jumped into that daily buy, and look at that move. Now remember, this bar here gave us the signal. And as you can tell, this bar, and even that bar right there are definitely higher than this bar right here. So that means it's going up. And you can see the weekly kicking out right there, jumping through the zero line. That's how we measure everything here. We try to make everything simple. You know, it's like, is it plus or is it minus? You know, is it above or below? You know, try to make, you know, trading itself is a hard business. You know, it's a very needed discipline type of business. You need to be disciplined. And so to make the signals simple, we throw lines in to even remind you. In other words, it's in a sell there, and I put the pink line in there to remind you it's in the sell there. We have clients that actually look at these charts, and so, you know, it's easier to perk them up when they don't have much of a connection to it. You know, in other words, they don't have the ability. Now our new beta opens the doorway. Let me just show you some of the fun of our new beta. Right there, you can see we can do this. Let's see, grab a hold of that, and we can move it, and you get tighter, and you can see you can move the bars around to look at it. You have the ability to make them bigger here, like that, so you can see it better. You can put an arrow on it; it'll tell you where it's at. Same thing with the weekly, and so, you know, it's a lot more interactive. So you know, this way we won't have to draw lines. People can just go put an arrow on it and go, oh, okay, that's where it's at. All right, so from there, as you can see, the Euro GBP has launched itself like an Elon Musk rocket. And, you know, the math, when looking at the naked cable, you know, in other words, just looking at the dollar cable pairs trade itself, you can see it's been in that weekly sell as it's highlighted on the spreadsheet for the 13 days now. Heading for a 14th day today, making even a more lower, and they're going after that 126 area. And we're flirting with the weekly sell, and it just goes on, you know, over and over and over again. So that is the magic of it all. Now from there, what do we do from there? Oh, I see what we do from there. We go like this. We go to the Swiss. Right there. There's the Swiss. Swiss a little stalled today. It's been that one over there. You go to the Swiss on the spreadsheet, and you can see it. Is it that right? There's the Swiss. As you can see, it's 10 weeks in a weekly sell. 10 WS weekly sell. And sure enough, on there, you know, since it's going in that weekly sell from the 91 3/4 area, 91.50 area, It is now trading at 85.28 basically. Again, this spot here is higher than this one there. And that's what the pink line and our math was trying to tell you right there, that it was going to go lower than it is there. And sure enough, it found a way to do it. Even when it tried to perk its head back up again with a daily buy right there, it didn't survive. It didn't get into the weekly buy. It stayed in the weekly sell. And sure enough, it's much lower now than it was then. And so that's the idea, is to give you a good trend. A trend that you can trust. 86% of the time out of 100, it will give you the right trend. And if you follow the basic trading rules, you'll be more of a winner than a loser. And that's the name of the game. The idea is to win more than lose. And that's what the spreadsheet does for you. And that's why Janos has suggested we have the spreadsheet underneath the symbol of dukascopy. So. Where do we go from where? There's our symbol. Let's move that down a little bit, like that. There's our symbol. Chicago Quant Technologies. Easy to find on the, just Google it and it's there. There we are. Now from there we go to the next currency we follow, and that is fascinating in its own right. I saw their stock market today picked up 3,000 points. Only lost two. And now over the last 2 days, it only lost 2%. That's not bad after being down 12+% yesterday. And so you can see there, the yen has been gaining against the dollar. That's what happens when the yen is going down. It's gaining against the dollar. And you can see we have been in a weekly sell since this region in here. We've been in a daily sell since there. Then we slipped into a buy for a day and back into a sell again. Slipped in for a buy for a day and then in a sell, and that's where we are at right now. And when we go to the magical spreadsheet, what do we see? We see 3 weeks in a weekly sell, and obviously you look at the chart and you can see it's going on a 4th week now. And we are 5 days in a daily sell going on a 6th. That's right. So that is the reason why there is a spreadsheet sitting on the screen nowadays. There we go. And why I'm trying to explain our process more than I used to try to explain it. No, I don't want to save this. I want to just save the work. So the line will stay there. So we go like that. Save workspace. That's better. There we go. And so that is... Oh, you can't see that. Let's show you that. Right there. There's the action matching up to the spreadsheet. All right. Now from there... from there we go over to what we refer to as the Great Experiment, which made an all-time high yesterday, and in a bad way. And so, in other words, when it goes up in value, the currency is losing, and the population is feeling enormous inflation, and that's why we refer to it as the Great Experiment. Because as far as we can tell, former Prime Minister Aragon has got something in his financial mind to... he believes that this is workable on some level. I don't understand exactly how, but when your currency goes to 1 to 37, how... it is workable. I don't understand that. That's why we call it the Great Experiment. Obviously, there's an experiment going on, and we just don't kind of understand it, I guess. That's what it comes down to. I don't understand it. There's a few reasons to devalue your currency. One is obviously to bring in investors into your country. And that's, that's cool. I mean, that makes sense there, when you lower the price of your, when you make your currency cheaper, it allows foreign investors to come into the country and invest because it's a bargain. In other words, buy their auto company or their farming company or, something cheaper than the neighboring country. And it's like, wow, that's a great idea, But we've not really seen, in other words, when it goes from 1 to 3, the currency, the investors are not the happiest people out there. And then when the currency goes, let's go back to it like right there again. When the currency goes from 3 to 6, again, the investors are losing a lot of money. Hopefully they can sell the product that the company makes, and that's usually the song and dance of it all in the end. In other words, you're hoping that they're going to create jobs and export this, that, or the other thing, and it's that type of action, but really hasn't been working out that way. And it really hasn't. Now it's trading at 37. Well, no, today actually, it's a bargain. It's at 36.71. So from one Turkish lira to now it's 36 Turkish lira basically, or 37. So what you used to buy with 1 Turkish lira, now you can buy with 36 of them. That's definitely what we refer to here in the United States as inflation. I know that our central bankers are not the most astute when it comes to understanding inflation, but they're starting to get an idea. Unfortunately, their policies hurt the economy more than help the economy, and so that's why we're in the same situation as many other countries right now, and that's the disappointing thing, So when you look at the great experiment, as I call it, we watch every day trying to figure out what is behind their strategy, because I can't figure it out. All right, from there, we go over to South Africa, and we look at the South African rand, and that, which has issues, we will say, and it is when it's going up, it's losing against the dollar, and also when it's going up in value like that or losing against the dollar. Metals complex is usually having issues at the same time. So like let's see, where's it at? Right there. Gold, since this is on an upwardly projection, you would assume over the last, I don't know, was it 3 weeks? You would think that gold, or 4 weeks, something like that, would be on a downwardly direction, and we'll take a look at it and see. And there it is. And so the last 4 weeks, it's found a way to go down, lift up again, and now going down, which makes sense. Now, due to the fact of the turmoil on the planet with the different nation states, it makes things nervous. Also, inflation has people concerned. So, it's hard to want to sell gold silver's been sold down more. We'll show you that in a few seconds again. And silver right here has been pressed down from the 32 area down to basically got as low as in the 26s. So it's feeling the pain more. You can see here it's in a weekly sell. Let's put that up on the screen. Silverado. There's silver. Silver is 3 weeks in a sell, 2 days in a sell. You can see we are working on a 3rd day now. And we've been in a weekly sell since up in here. Up in the 31-ish area, I guess you could say. There's a 32-ish area. It's definitely a 31-ish area. And so what has it done? It's found a way to go down, and then they try to cover it like a dead. That's what we refer to as a dead cat bounce, especially when we're in a weekly sell. And then it goes right back and makes another new low. And that's how you read the spreadsheet, which is highlighted there, so you can see how that marches along like everything else. And then we could do this too. We can take a peek at the beta and take a look and see how it reflects it. It's always nice, you know. The beta is really showing some real promise. It's a really good system, and we are offering it for free for people to try. So if you have an interest, just Google Chicago Quant Technologies and give them a text or a call or whatever floats your boat. Let me just put gold up on the beta so you can see it. You know what I should do? It should be the silver, really, since we have the spreadsheet aimed at it. Let's put silver up on there first, and then we'll go to gold. So there it is right there, seeing the same thing, the pressure. And there, and you can see the 3 days in a sell now. And yesterday was 2 days in a sell, and that's what's going on at the moment. And the 3 weeks in a sell. Bingo, bango, bongo, and going on a fourth. Now gold has been really making the challenge. Gold, as you can see as we highlight it, 5 weeks in a buy. One thing is for sure, they don't have an interest in selling it. That is for sure. They are more concerned about the idea of, you know, having, and I keep on reading stories too about the central banks, you know, loading up on the gold, you know, just making sure that they are protected. And you can go like this if you want, try to adjust the screen so it matches up a little bit to the situation here. And you can see it's flirting with a weekly sell as we speak. And it's trying to get into the sell again. It's gone in and out of it the last 2 days. They loved it, they hated it, they loved it, they hated it. You know, there may be just liquidation going on a very small scale when it comes to gold compared to silver. You know, for money necessary to pay margin calls or, you know, buy more of something, average more in on something. You know, it's equity moves around, you know, and people don't appreciate that. For every buyer, there's a seller. And for every seller, guess what? There is a buyer. And so, you know, they move it around and they push it and they shove it and they squeeze it and they do all kinds of things to it. And sometimes they're taking the cash out of it. Sometimes they're just figuring that they saw Doc's weekly sell and they don't want to be in there anymore for the time being. You know, it's anything is possible. And we try not to tell it what to do. It tells us what to do. What to do, what to do, what to do. All right, and then from there, we go over to copper. And, oh, let's put that up on the screen. There's the copper. And at the same time, you can see we highlight it right there. And you can see 3 full weeks in a sell, and on the spreadsheet, it's showing that. And then you see down below, you see there's your 3 full weeks, and now starting a fourth. Couple days in a sell, and it doesn't seem to want to run away from that whatsoever. It's just constantly pushing on that situation over and over again. Copper, which I like to call the gold of China, tells us when China is having issues, they're usually, you know, the copper finds a way to be sold down, whereas you know, you can tell it's the gold of China when they do false things with it. So in other words, people have painted lead copper. They've painted it copper, dipped it in copper. Or I think they dipped it in copper, and then they've also painted it with copper. And then when they do audits, sometimes they'll drill a hole into it to just double check, and they've found tons of false copper. So I guess they figured, well, if you can get $5 or $6 a pound, you know, and pay only 3 cents a pound for the lead, you know, it's made sense, you know. And so that tells you right there how important it really is in China. Now, we'll go over to platinum. And there's platinum. They felt the pain there yesterday, no doubt about that. They really did feel the pain. Look at that. Now we were in a sell for like the last, was that 2, 3? This is the 4th day. We've been in a weekly sell for 3 full weeks. It's on the spreadsheet somewhere there, right underneath the copper actually. You see, it's 3 weeks in a sell right there. We don't put in the daily because it's just not worth paying attention to that much for me. Because the spreadsheet is more of I do it to keep things straight for people, and make it easier for them. So in this case here, I don't need to look at it myself because no one is following it. So it doesn't mean I need to put a daily in there, but that is the way we roll. Now from there, let's take a look at the energy sector. And we'll take a look at crude oil right there. There's crude oil. And as you can see, it's just 2 days in a sell now. It's been 3 weeks in a sell. Now it's the 4th week. And it's vacillated. Went into the daily sell here. When it went into the weekly sell, made it a nice winner chicken dinner. Got a daily buy for a couple days. And then back in the sell again. And so there's the energy sector there when it comes to crude oil. What we do is we take a look at, we're going to put the Brent back up there. We don't have it on our new beta. The old beta had it. We're going to get that thing put together again and be able to watch the action with Brent again. But Brent marches identical to West Texas, and the only difference is the transportation costs. So, from there, we go and take a peek at this one, heating oil, which is used a lot. They use it for the airplane, the power jet planes, the heating oil. We call it heating it because it heats up. We use it for heating systems in houses, and at the same time we use it for diesel trucks. So the same fuel being fed to diesel trucks on the highways is also being fed to airplanes, which I find fascinating. I find that fascinating. It's like, wow, that's pretty cool. In other words, you would have thought there was like, wow, they must be using the best fuel in the world, the hottest, most accelerated. And nope, not really. Heating oil is feeds diesel trucks, and it feeds trucks and automobiles that run on diesel engines. And then it heats homes at the same time. Cool, huh? All right. From there, let's see, where do we jump over to? What we do is we jump over to natural gas. Let's see what natural gas is looking like this morning. There's natty gas. There, got it underneath the $2 area, which is, good. And that means that people will be able to buy a cheaper natural gas and feed themselves compared to what it was like the last couple winters. And that's an important thing, That is definitely an important thing. We can't have people starving to death or freezing to death because of some spiritual weather-related idea. And that's the way we look at global warming. It seems to be some type of spiritual thing there. And it sure isn't science, that's for sure. Let's see, where do we go from there? Natural gas. Oh, it's pretty much... Oh, I guess what we could do is we could take a look at the markets now and get a feel for that, since no one's asking any questions. Let's take a look at Mr. and Mrs. VIX. Let's see how the VIX has been acting. It's been fun, and we can't complain. You can see we went into the buy back in here in the 12 area, and it has traded as high as 65, almost 66. That's what a weekly signal can do. It doesn't work 100%. It works 86%. And then when you combine the daily with the weekly, it is even more of a successful percentage, over 86%. And then, If you use options, limited risk with unlimited gain type things, then you increase your winning streak into the high 90s, or at least mid 90s. So, we try to get people to pay attention to this. It's just that, like a lot of things, when the doctor says, hey, I think you need to take a vitamin, and you go, or you should eat better. You're eating very poorly, and the doctor says, you need to dump a little of that weight and eat a little bit healthier, and instead you would rather have that McDonald's hamburger or that piece of cake or whatever. And the end result is that in the end, sometimes it has a natural tendency to come bite you in the hindquarters. But that is life. That's what free will is all about, and that is why we grow. Because if you can't fail, you can't grow. All right, and so there is the VIX. You see it's calmed down dramatically from what happened yesterday. Just shows you it's a lagging indicator, definitely not a leading indicator, and I try to remind people that all the time as a old volatility trader, and that's what I have been off and on throughout my whole life, a volatility trader. And that's what I used my math for decades, to know when to increase or decrease my gamma and my deltas and adjust them. Alrighty, so from there, let's show you what it looks like on the beta too. The VIX, you little vixen. There it is right there. Backing off a little bit today, doing a little red dotish thing. That's why I like the beta. It's catching some interesting stuff. And then we're still in that weekly buy unless they, really start to rally. Now, I don't see a lot of action. Matter of fact, I would have thought that the thrust of this whole week would kind of come down to Thursday, and here we are on Tuesday. And let's take a look at the stock market and how it's acting. So let's take a look at one of our intraday charts, and we can go look at a daily, weekly. But here's an intraday chart. You can see last night, after the markets closed, they lifted the product up pretty dramatically. And then going into the European hours, it said, no mas, no thanks. And they sold it back down to where they started from in here. Because there is that's the New York Stock Exchange close right in there. And you can see they played down to it there, and you can see they played down to it there, but did not touch the higher lows. So then you can see they ran it back up again when the 6 o'clock hedge funds started to come in. They thought, well, let's buy a little. They bought, and now it's down. You can see this is in a buy for 3 bars now. This was in a buy for a bunch of bars there. What was that? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bars. And then it went into a sell right there. We can widen that out to show you. Same math, different frame of time. And then from there, it ran up again after being in a sell from, where was it? Right there? Right there. So it went into the sell right there, couldn't get into the buy with that pushing and shoving, and still was in the sell, and it was in the sell all the way down to right there. Then we don't pay attention to green and red on the intraday. We just look at that as a volatility signal, like something is coming, some action is coming, and sure enough, it does. And then you can see it pushes itself back into the sell right there, and has been in the sell all the way up until right there. It's been in a buy now for these last 3 bars. And if you really want to put the needle in the arm and go main line, there's this is what we call a 1.61 Tesla. So we use Mr. Tesla's opinion about the solar wind. That's what he was listening to. He was listening to solar wind. And so he came up with a number sequence of 396 because it's frequency. The solar wind, which can go up and down more dramatically than that, but he sees that as, you know, an analogous to our existence, which is fine with me. And you can see, like, let's just widen this out. This is running in a 1.61 time frame of Mr. Tesla's magic theme. And then you can see here, it's been in the cell from this one right here, and it went down. This one's lower than this one, and this one is not higher than this one, that's for sure. And it's just pressing around, and I'm sure it'll bounce around it a little bit more, and let's see if they'll challenge this low or turn it back up again. Notice they've only lasted 3 or 4 bars, or 4. Like, there's a 3 bar, there is a 5 bar, there's a 3 bar, there is a 6 bar, and now we're in a 3 bar. And let's see, we've got a few more to go. It's getting ready to change again, and any second now it's going to pop, and you'll have a new bar. There it is, new bar. And it's on its 4th bar now. Oh, you can't see that. Darn. I got to remember. There we are. You can't see that. There it is. Now you can see it. And so that was that. So I might also go back and show you the other one too. But this is the way it works. And then you can see right there where it's 3 bars into the buy, still trying to push itself into the sell, feeling a little pressure on the downside basically. So there was the buy here, there was the sell here, there was the buy there, and now it's flirting with the sell. This is a much more longer term intraday chart with a whole different frame, what we call the shape and value of time. Alright, and then we go back to there, that 1.6 Tesla. Look at that, it's trying to lift up. We got a green and a red saying maybe it's going to get a little noisy, just like it did the green and the red there, and then we got a knock down. And then obviously if this starts to push into the buy, then we know it's going to try to knock up, and if it doesn't, then it possibly will knock down. But this is, at this point, the markets are trying to decide what to do. You know, nibbling was done by the funds. They start off at 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and that's, you can see that action all the time. It's like clockwork, just like you see at 2:30 Eastern Standard Time in the AM. Europe gets rolling along, and that puts pressure on the marketplace. We are now on a 5th bar, as you can see right there, and let's see if this is going to be a little bit more extensive. Very fascinating. A little pressure there still. And let's see if it's going to make a new low out of this little sequence here. The low was right there, which was 5,236. So we are at 36.75, now 0.50. Up, there you go. They touched it, and so now they've made a new low. There you go, and that's why that red green occurred. It's all relative. That Al Einstein thing. You know, in other words, it's relative to each bar. It is adjusted. It's a consciousness. Our formula is an actual consciousness. And what defines a consciousness? You know, I see a lot of experts trying to understand artificial intelligence versus consciousness and what defines consciousness. And we believe consciousness is something that can alter its direction through an analysis of its own. And so I'm not sure if AI really can do that. It can tell you that if you mix yellow with green, it turns blue, I guess, you know. But, you know, can it really tell you, I guess you could say, why does it do that? And it'll tell you about the frequencies and the color coding and so forth. But in the end result is that consciousness, to me, is something that can actually predict a future event before you or I can see it. And it can change its opinion before you and I can see it. To me, that's a consciousness. And that's what this stuff seems to do for at least the last 45 years I've been watching it do it every day, and it amazes me every day. So, all right, from there, let's see. Now we were looking at the intraday. Let's go take a look at a little bit more longer term action. And let's see. Let's just close that. Yes. And then you can see here's the S&P 500. This is the futures contract. It's still having its issues. It's been in a sell now for 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I think it went into a buy one day. I'm not sure. No, maybe not. I think the SPY was like that. Or it was on the spreadsheet. That's it. Somewhere along the line, somehow we ended up having a buy in there. And now we're on the 4th day since here in a sell. And we've been 3 weeks in a sell since up in here in the 5,550 something area. And obviously we traded all the way down to 5,120. So it was a fantastic winner chicken dinner again on that weekly signal. We were looking at the SPY on the spreadsheet. It has, I think, it went into the buy yesterday. Let me put it up on the screen here. There's the SPY. That's the S&P 500 in an equity form, yeah. So it's trying to get into the buy today. But you know what did happen is that there's a lot of the tech companies that got beat up yesterday. They found their way into buys yesterday, which was very interesting. So in other words, when we go and look on the spreadsheet, you can see, didn't mean to do that. Let's go like this. There we are. When we go up on the spreadsheet, you can see here, Apple went into a daily buy. Amazon went into a daily buy. They're in weekly sells, of course, but they went into a daily buy. The Chinese Amazon, BABA, went into a buy. The Chicago Mercantile Exchange went into a buy. What was interesting is Meta did not. I was a little surprised. It's still in a sell with its weekly sell. Google went into a daily buy, but it's still in a weekly sell, so it's not exactly something you really want to play with on the long side. And then the rest of them stayed pretty much in that sell situation. Qs were 18 days in a sell. That's the Tech 100. And SPY was 13 days in a sell, which you have up on the screen as we look. Is that it? What is that? No, that's Tesla. Tesla's up there. Let's take a look at the app. Pull. So it went into the buy yesterday. It's a little bit lower today, but it's in a weekly sell. I'm surprised we don't have the bar on that. How long has it been in a weekly sell? Up. 2 weeks in a weekly sell. So it went into the sell right there. Let's grab this one, move it over like that. So it went into the weekly sell here in the 220-ish area, and it made itself down to underneath 200 yesterday. Again, that weekly will keep you honest in the end, especially if you, use options in combination with trading strategies. It'll make it even easier to make money. Now, one of the big interesting ones, let's put it up on the screen, NVDA. That found a way into the buy also. We have it on the bottom. I think it's like the last one on the spreadsheet. There it is right there. It found a way to get into the buy also, but unfortunately it's in that weekly sell. Let's find where it's at right there. There's the NVDA. It's been in that weekly sell since up in the 130-ish area. And a lot of sells. You can see that a couple of weeks there, and then a buy, and a couple of weeks again, a sell, and yesterday it went into the buy, and that's where it's at right now, still lifting up. Let's grab a green line and put it in there for you. There we are. Now we really got to think about the title today too. What kind of title do we use today? What is a good title for today? We showed you the volatility And that was okay. You know, we've been telling people that it's not a leading indicator; it's a lagging indicator. We've shown you oil, which is, you know, mixed. Let's see. Dead cat bounce. I'd like that. I think we should call this the dead cat bounce since we're in weekly sells. So I really think that that would be the best title for today. And that is that it's a dead cat bounce week. I think that's what it is. Because we saw already how the stock markets tried to lift up. They started making a run. I mean, Tokyo up 3,000 points today after being down almost 3,600 points yesterday. So I think we're more in a debt. The markets are in a dead cat mode. I think that's what it comes down to. So that will be our title today. Title. I don't see any more questions out there. That's always confusing to me, but if I had a chance to ask me questions, I would ask. But that's me. Markets do markets, let's just call it dead cat bounce. There we are. And that's the title today, I think. That's a good title. What else we got brewing there, traders? We got another minute or two. I have no problem with that. I guess, you know, maybe the Bitcoin in many ways was a real surprise, you know. The cryptos, we're good fans of the crypto universe. We find it an interesting asset. And, you know, thank goodness Mr. Trump feels the same way. But I you know, you can see it was getting beat up and liquidated for cash just like everything else. It was interesting. It dropped below the 48 or 4,900 area and then found a way to turn around again and climb back up about $3,000 or $4,000. So we're figuring that tells us that, you know, it was a liquidation more. Supposedly they were saying that I was hearing some people say that money managers with a close of 5,255 forced them to liquidate $77 billion worth of stock. In other words, they had stops out there on that. So that was part of the whoosh that drove the Dow down to, or the S&P 500 down to 5,120, and then all of a sudden you can see it now. It's trading in the 200 area. So definitely dead cat bounce. All right, traders, we're out of here. This is Doc saying happy trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails to you, to all our Dukascopy friends. Later, traders. Have a safe and smart trading day. We'll catch you tomorrow. Same time, same channel. Spreadsheet. Hi-yo, Silver.